All right, so today we're going to take a look at questions 7 through 10 in the calculator section of the SAT Practice Test 9. So remember, you can use your calculator for these questions, but for the majority of these questions, you probably won't need to. So let's start with number 7. In the figure above, line segment AD intersects line segment BE at point C. If x is equal to 100, what is the value of y? So we're given that this line segment intersects this line segment at point C. And we know from our properties of line intersects as well as our properties of angles that since these two angles are on opposite ends of this intersect, they are going to be congruent to one another. Additionally, we're given the measurement of these two angles as 20 and 40. And so what we can do from here is, since we're given the value of x to be 100, we also know that in any given triangle, the total angle measurement has to add up to 180. So if you add all three of these angles together, you're supposed to get 180 degrees. That's just the nature of any triangle. So what we can do to find this angle measurement is subtract 120 from 180, because if we add 220 to 100, we're given 120 degrees. So to find the angle measurement of this third angle that we need to find, just subtract 120 from 180. And that's going to give you 60 degrees. So we know that this angle equals 60 degrees. And once again, going back to our properties of line segments and properties of angles at intersects, we know that this angle has to be congruent to this angle. So this angle is also equal to 60 degrees. And from here, we can just repeat the process to find the measurement of angle y, because once again, the total angle count in this triangle has to be equal to 180. And so we can just subtract 100 from 180, because 60 plus 40 equals 100. And that will give us the measure of angle y. So we're just quickly going to do 180 as the total angle measure minus 100, because we're adding the other two angles. And that will give us the measurement of angle y, which should be equal to 80 degrees. And so we know that our answer choice for this question is C. So that's number 7. Let's move on to number 8. The line graphed in the XY plane below models the total cost in dollars for a cab ride Y in a certain city during non-peak hours based on the number of miles traveled X. So this graph is basically a cost per distance traveled graph. According to the graph, what is the cost for each additional mile traveled in dollars of a cab ride? So this question is asking us to find the slope, because it's asking us for the change in dollars per each change in miles. So it's asking for pretty much dollars over miles, or y over x, which is slope, rise over run. And so to find slope, we have this fancy equation that is given to us, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So now all we need to do is find our y1, x1, and y2, x2. And to do that, we can just choose any 2 points on this graph. So let's just choose these two to be simple. So looking at this graph, it looks like each tick mark represents a value of 1. So this is going to be 1, and this is going to be 3. And so we can label the x and y points of each of these two points. So this one should be at 1, 5. And this point should be at 0, 3. And so now that we've found our x and y points for both of these dots, we can just plug them into this equation to find the slope. And since this is a constant line segment, the slope should never change, so we only have to test this once. So let's just plug in y2 as 5 minus y1 as 3 over x2 as 1 minus x1 as 0. And so this should give us 2 over 1, which is just equal to 2. And so we know that the answer to this question has to be A, $2, because the slope is equal to 2, which means for each additional mile traveled, the cost will increase by $2. So that's number 8. So let's move on to number 9. So we're given this table. On Tuesday, a local gas station has 135 customers. The table above summarizes whether or not the customers on Tuesday purchased gasoline, a beverage, both, or neither. Based on the data in the table, what is the probability that a gas station customer selected at random on that day did not purchase gasoline? So we want to find pretty much all the people who were selected in this table, except for the people who did not purchase gasoline. And so we pretty much just want to eliminate gasoline purchased from our total amount. And so the probability is the amount you want over the amount, the total amount. So let's just quickly write that. So it's total amount versus or amount desired over total amount. And in this case, the amount desired is just everybody everybody at the gas station who did not purchase gasoline. So everyone at the gas station who did not purchase gasoline is shown here as 50 people, and the total amount is 135. So in other words, this is going to be 50 over 135, because 50 is our amount desired and 135 is our total amount of customers. And we should try to simplify this beforehand, because we could select D, but there might be a simpler choice here. So let's first try dividing by 5. So that will give us 10 over 27. And that is not an answer choice, so we know that our answer choice has to be D, 50 over 135. So that's number 9. Let's move on to number 10. Washington High School randomly selects freshmen, sophomore, junior, and senior students for a survey about potential changes to next year's schedule. Of students selected for the survey, 1/4 were freshmen and 1/3 were sophomores. Half of the remaining selected students were juniors. If 336 students were selected for the survey, how many were seniors? So to find the number of seniors, we kind of just need to work backwards and find the number of freshmen, the number of sophomores, and the number of juniors first. So we're given that 336 is our total amount. And first, let's start off by finding the number of freshmen. So 1/4 of 336. For this one, you will need your calculator, so let's quickly use it. This should be 4, by the way. So this is to find the total number of freshmen. So we're just going to plug in 336 divided by 4, and that should give us 84 freshmen. So let's just write 84F. So now let's find the number of sophomores, since it says 1/3 of the total number of students were sophomores. So now we're going to do 336 divided by 3. And plugging that into our calculator, we should get 112. So 112 of the students selected were sophomores. So now let's find the total number of juniors, because that's the next step in this process. Half of the remaining selected students were juniors. So when it says remaining selected students, you need to subtract the total number of freshmen and sophomores from the total number of students. So we're going to do 336 minus 112 minus 84. And that will give us the remaining number of students. And that should give us, if we plug it into our calculator, 336 minus 112 minus 84 will give us 14, or rather 140, sorry. 140. And from here, it says half of these students were juniors, so we're just going to subtract this, so we're just going to divide this by 2 rather, and that will give us 70 juniors. And so from there, how many were seniors? Just find the remaining number left. So you could do 336 minus 112 minus 84 minus 70. And that will give you the total number of seniors. Or alternatively, since you know that 140 students are left after subtracting the number of freshmen and seniors, and you know that you divided it by 2 to get the number of juniors, it stands to reason that the number of seniors will also be 140 divided by 2, because half of the remaining number of students were seniors and half of the remaining number of students were juniors. And so you can alternatively just use that to figure out that the number of seniors left is 70. So your total number of seniors will be 70. So your answer is D.